final room left in my house to renovate is the laundry. And this is part one, where we can take a look at what's currently in the laundry and discuss the ideas about what I want to do with it. So there's some overhead shelving that's pretty nasty and is actually pulling away from the ceiling. Underneath that is a bench that has been sort of hacked to fit the washing machine, and below the bench are some other cupboards. Around the cornicing in the room there's some pretty bad cracks, and also all over the walls there's a whole lot of dents and scrapes and stuff from the render, so that's something that will need to be addressed. There's also a standard laundry sink, and that's basically it. On the right side of the room there's a glass sliding door. And also the tiles need to be mentioned as well, they're pretty nasty and old looking. So this is the layout that I wanted to go for, and the only real difference is that on the left side there's some vertical storage, which we have very little of in the house. I first went to Ikea to get some prices, and it looked like it was going to be about $1,500, not including any extra services like plumbing or electrical. So instead I had a look at Bunnings at their modular furniture range and decided this would be a cheaper route. My goal is to keep it under $1,000 if I can. So I started by emptying out the laundry, which took ages. There were so many sheets. Then I wanted to take out the washing machine, which I couldn't do without removing the sliding door and screen door first. The sliding doors were pretty easy to get out. You just had to lift them high enough so that the bottom could lift out of the tracks, and then just carefully take them outside. Next I removed the old blinds and then held up in place the replacement roller blind that we had ordered for the house a few months back. Now with the washing machine out the way, I could start on deconstructing the covers of laundry. I didn't want to just smash them apart and rip them out. I want to try and keep them so that I could eventually use them in my workshop. With the cupboard doors off, I can start pulling down the actual cupboards, and you can see those pieces of wood that are sort of right underneath each of the shelves. And I'm pretty sure this is the way that they were screwed onto the wall. I didn't find any other fastenings once they were off, and yeah, I think just eventually they started to sag away from the ceiling, and these could have even been an afterthought that the owners had screwed on themselves to support the cupboards. And once I had removed those, it was just a matter of pulling down the cupboard. There was one that was stuck in there. I just had to break the wood around and pretty much yank it off the wall. Then I had to remove the cupboard that was underneath the bench and take the bench off, and that bottom cupboard wasn't even stuck onto anything at all. It pretty much just pulled right out, so that was easy. The pieces of wood that held the counter up were easy enough to pry out with a hammer. And now I'm just going around the walls and pulling out any screws and any other bracketry that was left on there. And then I've got to go around and drill out all the plastic screw inserts that are put into the brick. And yeah, it's a little bit of a messy job. You end up sort of just blowing the hole out a bit, but that's one of the only ways I know to get rid of them, other than sort of pushing them back through into the wall. Then I'm just giving the walls a bit of a sweep over with broom and trying to get rid of any sort of crap that's stuck to it in preparation for some plastering. That picture there is just an example of some of the holes and scrapes that I've got to fill in the render. And now I can apply my plaster, and I'm not too concerned about how nice it looks for now. I'm just trying to fill the holes. it will have to have a couple layers of plaster anyway. So that's my plastering basically finished for the first coat. I've still got to do some areas in the ceiling, and I've got to wait for it to dry so I can fill in any holes that sink through. In part 2 we'll have a look at fixing some broken tiles and make some changes to the lighting. So thanks for watching and stay tuned for part 2.